So some of you may know me. My name is Dan Granda. I am a minister in training and currently the operations director here at Unity of Naples. And I am, and it's super exciting to be up here, mainly because I heard if you're going to be on this stage, you have to seriously up your sneaker game. So I did. And you know that it's super serious for me because I'm not in flip-flops. So this month we've been talking about prayer, and we're going to continue talking about prayer today. The first couple of weeks we talked about the three types of prayer: asking, surrender, and affirmative. And then the next week, Reverend Mark talked a lot about the law and how the law works and how we utilize the law when we pray. And then last week, we prayed. Mark prayed for us, with us, that we all prayed together, which was pretty awesome. So this week, we're going to talk about what are we praying for? When we pray, what are we praying for? Because I know for most of my life, I prayed for things. I'm going to pray for things. Who prays for things? We all pray for things, right? Like, yeah, oh wait, maybe that's not it. What are we praying for? Before I had this stint in ministry, I was a freelance musician in the New York, New Jersey area, and I went to school for music. I went to college for music. I have 2 degrees in it, and when I was in school, I was the one who was going to make it. Everybody knew it. I knew it. The teachers knew it. The people I was going to work with knew it. It was great, and I started doing gigs, sophomore, junior year of college, and everyone else was like, "You're gigging already? How are you?" Whatever, And it started with small things, but it built pretty quickly, and by the time I was done with school, I had a pretty decent freelance career going, and I love making music. But there were a lot of things they didn't tell you about in school that happen when you're out actually working. And it was kind of like, wait, I get to make music for this much, and then there's this much of all this other stuff. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to just keep, put my head down and keep trucking along, because eventually I'm going to get that gig over there, and then it'll be great. And I'll make it when that happens, and then I won't have to do all this other stuff, right? Because most gigs, and as a percussionist, I left that out. So as a percussionist, I have to carry around all that stuff a lot, as Brian knows. So when everyone else would jump on the subway with their case and jump out at the gig and open it up and start playing, 3 hours before that I had to drive out to my mom's house because my stuff didn't fit in our apartment. So drive out to mom's, lug the stuff up out of the basement, into the car, get back into the car, drive into the city, unload it into the gig, double parked outside of the building, hope the door guy is going to watch my stuff as I go park the car in the garage, come back to the gig, I'll load all the stuff into the elevator, back up into the rehearsal hall, play for about 10 minutes, lug all the stuff back down, and then do it all in reverse. So a gig for me was like 6 hours, while everyone else is, woe is me, right? But anyway, the point is, there was such a grind about it. There was such a grind, and I was like, man, if only, like when this changes, when I reach this other thing, when this new experience happens, when this new whatever, right? And I was always waiting, and in the middle of all this, I found new thought, and I started taking classes, and I heard this thing where you can pray and change stuff. And I thought, I'm gonna try that. That sounds kind of cool. Like I can just create stuff? You mean I can just do this thing with words and something's gonna happen? And so I did. I started to, okay, that thing I want, it's gonna happen now. I'm gonna create this new thing now. And I did, and it didn't happen. And I went, I don't think this works. They said, no, you gotta do it again. Oh, okay, so I gotta do it more than once. Oh, okay, so I do it once. And then the next class they said, well, you only should have to pray once. And I said, last class you said I had to pray more than once. What do you mean? And there was all this confusion around how prayer works. And then they, as Mark talked about, they introduced the law, and the law holds all of these memories and the history of human nature, and you can't just go out and create a thing. It doesn't really work like that. And I said, well, then how does this work? What are we doing? And what I found was through 10 or 12 years of putting my head down and moving forward and then trying to pray to create some new thing for myself, what I found out was we don't actually create things when we pray. When we pray, we're actually praying for a new experience. So you pray for a new experience. We're not praying for the thing. We're not praying for the new car. We're not praying for the new job. We're not praying for money. We're not praying for the thing, this object. Now, all of that might be the desire, but through the new experience, those things show up. So I was trudging along in this experience, and I was freaking miserable. I mean, it was like, I love music, but the experience, the things that went along with that thing, like the aspects of schlepping instruments and the business of working in the music industry, was not at all what I wanted to be doing. It's like, I love making music, I don't love the music industry. So I was trying to change the things of the industry, not realizing what I really wanted was, I'm in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. But here's the really cool thing. So in that experience, I was able to attract to myself all of the things that I needed for life to kind of smack me upside the head a little bit and say, you're in the wrong place. You should be over here doing this other thing. So through all of these classes in New Thought, I found ministry and went, nah. And then I continued in these classes because it just kind of felt like the right thing to do. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed working with people, and the more I enjoyed coaching. I got licensed as a spiritual practitioner and was taking on clients, and people would come to me and like, oh my God, you're so amazing because this. I'm like, I didn't do anything. It's this prayer thing because it actually works. We can actually change your experience. And they're like, no, but how did you do that? I'm like, I didn't do anything. It's this prayer thing we're talking about that actually brings us results because we're not praying for the things, we're praying for the new experience. So when we change our concept of what the experience is, we get to have a new reality. So when we have a new reality, we look at the world in front of us, right? And reality is our mirror. And that kind of sounds like a weird concept, but when you look at life is going to mirror back to you what it is that you believe. So life shows up for you based on your beliefs. Life shows up based on what your experience has told you. Now, most of us grew up being told the exact opposite. So we look out at life and go, well, that's wrong, they're wrong, and that and this, and that all needs to change. And we look out there to say, nope, that's wrong, I'm great, I'm fine, and everything else needs to change until we realize that what's showing up outside of us. So for me, it wasn't the music industry that was wrong. I just didn't realize that I was in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. So when I finally embraced the idea, somebody said to me at some point, I was like, man, I really want to teach New Thought to people. I really want to help people learn this. I really want to get in front of people and be able to say, we've been doing it backwards for like hundreds of years. And these ideas that have been around forever are still here and still work and are still saying, do it this way. And we're over here like, no, it's fine. We're going to keep doing it this way, even though it doesn't work. We're going to stay over here and hang out a little longer before we come back over here and go, oh yeah. But I had this idea that I really want to get this in front of people. More, everyone could benefit from this. More people could need to know this. And somebody said to me, you're talking about becoming a minister, right? And again, I was like, no, that's weird. So again, another new experience. I had to change my mind about what being a minister meant. And at some point, I overheard my mom saying to someone else, she said, well, yeah, he's really been a minister his whole life. And I'm like, wow, that would have been nice to know. But with this new reality, this new experience, we're able to create out of this new experience. We're able to change our ideas and our thoughts, our beliefs, right? So what's really important to know then is that life shows up based on our beliefs. So we can't just speak a single word and have that create this thing that we're talking about. We're going to create, because I mean, who's prayed something that looks like it hasn't shown up before? Yeah, I don't know what the rest of you are doing, but I want some, because we're like, I mean, it happens all the time where we pray for something and it looks like it doesn't show up. And there's a whole series of reasons why that might be. But when our life shows up based on the power that we get from understanding that our word, prayer, manifests based on our beliefs, then there's a whole different experience, right? So we're going to jump to the next slide here. And our beliefs, and this is, so you didn't know we were going to do math today. When I was putting this together, I kind of went, really? Math? All right, let's do it. So you remember back in like 8th grade or whenever we did like if-then math, like if this, then this? Well, this is one of those things. So your beliefs are the sum total of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions about a specific idea. So when you put together your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotion, that creates your belief about whatever that is. So when your beliefs, your thought, feelings, and emotion are greater than the importance and the gestation period of creating that thing, then we have change in tangible experience. Cool. I thought that's how it was going to go over. So, importance. This is the key. The importance here is, what do you think about this thing you're trying to change? What are you praying for? What do you think about it, right? Because notice, thoughts, feelings, and emotions are your beliefs. But then there's also what you're thinking about that specific thing. So we have a collection of thoughts and feelings and emotions that create our belief system, which is kind of like a filter, right? But then there's also this other element of how much weight are you placing on this happening? If you're trying to force this thing into creation, it's probably not going to happen. You're probably not going to have a lot of tangible results if we're trying to force our way through. Sometimes we call this outlining. When you're trying to do God's work for God and say, well, it's going to look like this, and it's going to show up here this way at this time, great. Oh, why didn't that happen? Well, we, having the power to create the way that the world was created, right? We create the same way that God creates. However, we are not the all of God. So there is something bigger than us available to us that we say, this is the idea, here you go. And it's going to create in a way that's way bigger than we would ever know. So for myself, in this musical experience, what I didn't know as I'm having my head down doing this whole thing was all of the things that were being put in place for me that I was blind to. So in my musical career, I thought this was the thing. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be successful. And I was. I was successful. I was paying the bills, and we were fine. But I was miserable doing it. But it was necessary. Like all of the things that I learned, the skills, the people skills, just the amount of information that came to me in that experience, how to relate to people, they all directly correlate to, I needed those skills to be over here now doing this new thing, now doing ministry. And I can turn around and look at it now and go, wow, there was no other way possible for me to be right here, right now, than to have gone through all of that. And so what happened was, there was a seed planted long ago, I think probably back in like 8th grade, where I had this huge desire, this huge attraction towards spirituality, but not necessarily church. And to me, in my young adolescent mind, it was the same thing. And I went, this is crazy, and kind of tossed it all away, not realizing that pull was still there. So music, there's a very similar pull in spiritual expression through music, right? So I was pulled to that. I was pulled towards the expression of spirituality through music. And so I kind of just followed this. I followed this path, not really having any idea that I was going down this path to set up this thing that I had no awareness of. I had no idea that, it's not like there's this man in the clouds that said, here, I'm going to gift you these things. It was, this seed was planted a long time ago, and to stay out of my own darn way, let's go over here and do this thing so that this can happen all on its own. So that when I was ready and I kind of stopped one day and went, wow, this sucks. And then I kind of turned this way and went, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I can do that as a living. And then I turned around and went, wow, that path led directly here. So the other thing that we pray for is, turning the page. The other thing that we pray for is a new awareness. A new awareness. I got the awareness here of what else was possible. We have major change when there's new awareness. So I was no longer praying for a new experience. I was now having a new experience. I'm in this new spiritual philosophy, and it's great, and life is showing up differently. But the new experience at that point hadn't taken me out of the music yet. It hadn't taken me out of my own story yet, but the awareness. When I got awareness, then all of a sudden it was, oh. So experience, I'm praying for something to show up differently, but it's still outside of myself. So now when I have a new awareness, now all of a sudden I can realize that the thing I was praying for before, and we have to go through that step. We have to go through the steps of praying for a new experience, and then step into, oh, now with this new awareness, I can pray for a new awareness. And this awareness is what got me to step into ministry and go, this is not weird. This is not all those things I thought it was. This is what I've been doing, and now I just have to go through these certain steps to be here, to be on a stage in front of people to say, this is how this works, y'all. Like, we can actually use our words through prayer to change our lives. And it's not through we'll use treatment in this other school of thought, sorry. Prayer. It's not through prayer of individual things that we get this new reality. It's through praying for a new experience, praying for a new awareness where life gets to show up differently. Life is allowed to flow through us. We're clearing our own pathway for life to show up in a different way for us. So when I had this new awareness, I was pretty much presented with the opportunity, like almost immediately, presented with the opportunity to go to ministerial school. And it was amazing to see the steps along this path unfold in front of me. It was from the money showing up in exactly the right way, to the people who needed to know about it, knowing about it before I did, for people waiting at the phone, knowing that I was going to call to do it. The whole entire thing was like, here, have this. It's nicely packaged. It's for you. And I was like, wow. Praying for this new awareness, all of a sudden, the new experience and everything else I was asking for before just came along all nicely packaged. I didn't have to do anything for it. So praying for this awareness, for a new awareness, praying for an expansion of awareness, is exactly what I got. I mean, that's how it shows up. The new awareness showed up in this new way. And from there, after we have this new awareness, I found it really difficult, having had almost 30-something years of experience telling me otherwise at that point. I found it really difficult to stay in that awareness, to stay in that place of, wow, life's just going to keep showing up based on this change of beliefs, based on this change of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and then having the importance, an awareness of the importance that I'm placing on this, and then allowing for the time necessary for it to show up. So again, in the musical career, I had to have my head down going forward long enough for this whole thing to show up, long enough for me to clear out my own stuff, to allow life to flow through me, so that the prayers that I would speak, the word that I would speak had the power to actually manifest with this new awareness to create this new experience. So now all of a sudden here I am in school with this new awareness, with this new experience going, what if it stops? What do I do then? And I realized that awareness is not necessarily constant. It kind of fluctuates. That we might have like this huge spiritual experience where our awareness expands. And then we go back home and it goes, uh-oh, right? Like, well, what now? And I found at one point in school, we were on one of our yearly retreats, and in this process, we were going through a meditation visioning process, and one of the things that came up for me in this process was that we were visioning around what our ministries would look like, and I had this vision of new possibilities for church. What's possible in church? There are a lot of churches that are really struggling to figure out how to make church work now, how to make church work in cities, how to make church work wherever they are, whatever the thing is that's around them. There seems to be a lot of struggle, which thankfully we don't have here, which is amazing, but it's really prevalent in other places. And what came to me was this idea of how to make that possible, and the image of it was this square building with a sanctuary in the middle, and then around the outside of it were all of these classrooms. And the idea was something around having a spiritual wellness center where these classrooms were rented out to all kinds of other people, whatever. But the impact of that experience on me was like, holy cow, whose idea was this? This was not my idea. Where did this come from? And again, it was that new awareness of like, oh man, this is something totally outside of myself that is influencing my thoughts and my awareness. And then now it's able to create this new experience. We can move forward and create this new experience. And so the whole thing kind of like flipped around where the new awareness brings the new experience, and it was amazing. But what was even more amazing is when I got home from the retreat, a fellow licensed practitioner friend came up to me that next Sunday, and almost immediately he's like, I need to talk to you. I said, oh, okay, what did I do? And he goes, I had a dream about you this week. I'm like, really? And he takes out a piece of paper and he starts to draw this thing. He's like, I had this vision where I was in church, and it was not a church that I knew. It was this square building with a sanctuary in the middle and these classes all around. And I was like, wow. I had that, and it was amazing to see. So this was spring of 2018. We're in 2019 right now. So the other day I'm on campus here and I walk into the sanctuary and go, this is a square building. The classrooms all around the outside of it. Holy cow. And what really struck me, and I said had struck me before, but it just constantly amazes me to see those things that would otherwise show up as some weird like synchronicity is really just faith. It's really just surrendering and moving out of the way and allowing these things to continue flowing through. So when I had that moment of, what if it stops? There was kind of this other moment of, what if it doesn't? Oh, wow. So when we pray, we're also praying for a new faith. We're praying to build our faith that God will always flow through us. We are always, like, you don't have a choice. It's always flowing. It's whether we decide to do our work and move out of the way or not. Like, our filter of our beliefs are thoughts, feelings, and emotions, plus the importance that we place on whether something happens or not, and then allowing it to happen with the time that it needs. That's what's going to allow for our prayers to manifest as reality. And you need faith to do that. Otherwise, we're just guessing, right? So when we pray, we're really praying for the faith to allow these things to happen. So we're praying for a new experience. We're praying for a new awareness. And we're going to pray for a new faith, a faith that says, yeah, this is going to happen through me no matter what all the time, right? So really what we're doing here in New Thought is we're taking the mystical spiritual path. We're taking this path inward that says, yes, God is out there and God is in here, that I can go inward at any moment and manifest life through me. You can each at any moment turn inward, and I'm going to manifest life through myself, through this word, that the word that we speak is the power that we have to create our lives, right? So that's what we're doing here, and it was amazing when I had that moment of like, holy crap, this is that square building. And again, it was like, we have these human moments of like, oh my God, it's real. It's real. I don't know if you know, it's real. Like the way this works actually shows up, and when you take notice of it, it's really, really impactful. Not only on ourselves, but on everyone else. And one of the things that I think is not talked about nearly enough in this type of environment is the importance of community, the importance of getting together as like-minded individuals to recognize that, right? Because we all have our moments of, I'm going to go out and pray for things because that seems like it makes sense. Like there's something missing in my life, I'm going to go out and pray for that thing. And that doesn't really work so well, right? I think we've probably recognized that by now. Praying for the thing doesn't necessarily work. So we need to come back here to these places to be reminded of that path. Oh yeah, right, it's not out there, right? So our lives are filled with different relationships. We have relationships that go this way. We have horizontal relationships, and we have relationships that go this way. This is a total tangent, by the way, that has nothing to do with prayer, but I'm just feeling called to talk about it. We have relationships that go this way, vertical relationships. So the horizontal relationships are the relationships that you have with your coworkers and your friends and your family, and the vertical relationship is the relationship that you have with God and yourself. Church is the only place where those things meet. It is the only place where those things meet. And in New Thought, there's such a focus on me and how I'm going to change and how I'm going to show up that we often forget about that intersection of like the real reason we're here, the real reason that we need this, that everybody needs this, is because this is missing in a huge portion of the population. We don't have this intersection of form and God happening on a regular basis. So I'm feeling called to move this into prayer at the moment. So if all the prayer chaplains would stand up and hold this space with me, let us just know that we are here in the manifested power of God, the power that God has to create this world, that God used to create this entire cosmos is given to us, that it is our divine nature, our divine birthright to use this same exact power in every moment to create this world. That as this community, we show up to create this experience of God and form as one experience, to know the truth about who we are in every moment, to know that our friends, our family, our work, and our God are all one, and that we are reminded on a regular basis by coming here that through our power of word, through our new experience, through our new awareness, through our new faith, that we are able to create, that we are able to look inward, to be gentle with ourselves, and know that we are simply clearing out our own filters to create a new reality in every single moment. That in this life, we are simply just walking each other home, that we are walking along this path of creation to know God, to know ourselves as God, to know God as this creation, that is the whole purpose of why we're here. That we are here in this moment, in this community, to be in this divine flow of creation, to be in this divine flow of learning, of experience, of life that is not possible in form, that we are here in form to experience God on a timeline, to experience God in a way that shows up between point A and point B, in a way that is not possible in simply within consciousness, but is only possible with consciousness and form. That we are consciousness and form constantly creating, and I am just extremely grateful to know that we are all here doing this together, that we constantly create and show up in life as life, as God, to know ourselves, to know God, to know this creative process, to know the creative power that we have, to be able to express and experience through this creative force that we know as life. And with this gratitude, I simply release this word to law, simply release this word to the universe, knowing that it is our truth right here, right now, in every moment. And so it is. Amen.